This morning we're going to talk about denying the denial of truth. We're told in chapter 12 that our only responsibility is to deny the denial of truth. This is a succinct statement of what the whole process of undoing the ego is all about, and indeed what the central focus of A Course in Miracles is. We're not asked to remember who we are as children of love. We're not asked to seek for truth. What we're asked to do is to look at the ego, deny its seeming reality, change our minds about teachers, choosing the Holy Spirit or Jesus as our teacher instead of the ego, and by undoing the ego, what the ego was covering will automatically rise into our awareness, and what rises in the awareness is the memory of God. Right? The Course tells us, and what amounts pretty much to be a formula in the Course, that we see the face of Christ in our brothers and remember God. Seeing the face of Christ in our brothers is looking beyond the darkness of the projections of our guilt that we place onto other people, and instead see the innocence that the guilt and the hate were covering. And once that is done, the ego disappears, and then the memory of God, which has always been present in our right minds, simply once again rises in awareness. We're told in chapter 16 that our task is not to seek for love, but to seek and find all the barriers we place between ourselves and love. Right? The introduction of the Course tells us that the Course is not about love, because that cannot be taught. Rather, this Course is on removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. So that anything that is positive in this Course, or setting aside the love of God, which is beyond this world entirely, but anything that is positive in the right-minded sense in A Course in Miracles is really the undoing of the negative. Right? Just as if you recall your algebra from high school days, when you multiply two negatives, you get a positive. So when we deny the ego's denial of truth, meaning we look at the ego's denial of truth, i.e. its thought system of separation and judgment, attack, and specialness, and we look at that and we deny, in the right-minded sense, we say, I no longer want to believe this, that's the denying the denial of truth. It's the undoing the negative. We're told in the section on the last unanswered question that the reason we have not answered that last question yet, which is, do I want to see what I denied because it is the truth, is because we have not recognized that to say yes to that last unanswered question means to say not no. So it's, again, the denial of the negative, or looking at the ego thought system of negation and saying, I no longer want this. That's why the focus of this Course is really on the ego. To be sure, we cannot let go of the ego without the love of Jesus or the love of the Holy Spirit in our minds, because otherwise the ego would be too overwhelming and daunting a foe, as it were. But what we can do with that love beside us is look at the ego and say, this is insane. The ego is not sinful. The ego is not horrific. It is not evil. It is not powerful. The ego is nothing. As one workbook lesson says, the ego is as insane as a little child holding a match and thinking that if he extinguishes the match, the sun would go out. Or as in the Little Garden section says, that the ripple on the ocean thinks it's the ocean, or the sunbeam thinks it's the sun. It's this arrogance in giving the ego power that is the problem. Not the ego itself, because an illusion cannot have any power, being non-existent. What does have power is the mind's belief in the illusion. That's where the power lies, not in the ego. And so to deny the denial of truth means we take Jesus' hand and walk back from our experiences in the world, back to the decision-making mind, and now look again. And now we look at the ego not as a thought system to be embraced, but as a thought system that has only brought us pain. And why should I choose something that brings me pain? Again, that's not evil, that's not sinful, that's not demonic, it is simply silly. It's analogous to looking at the tiny mad idea of separation in any of its myriad forms and remembering to laugh at it. What laughing at the ego means is to deny its denial of truth. They're saying, how could truth be denied? How could God's love be destroyed? How could perfect oneness be shattered and fragmented? None of these is possible, and therefore none of these has happened. That's what it means to deny the denial of truth. And that's what it means to really practice the Course day in and day out in every situation, every event, every relationship that confronts us. Is look at this and say, these have no power to take away the love and the peace of God from me. And therefore, why should I any longer, why should I invest them with reality?